Hey YouTube, it's Toreadory here. I'm joined by Simkoff, my casting partner. Hello
G'day.
again. And here we have a match from the Season 3 of the Global Discord League. And it's actually a game that I played myself. I was playing Lion, and it's against Kapowe, and he was playing Crab. So it should be a pretty good match from memory.
And this is your, so you play a few games so far this season. How's the Lion choice gone?
Well, to be honest, I didn't actually want to play Lion again, but I was intoxicated when I made the deadline to Season 3, so I'm stuck with it. But
Great choice.
it's going well. Like I'm very, I'm very familiar with the clan, and they're also my favorite clan. So, but I think I'm 2-1 at the moment.
Cool. So this flop, how are you feeling about it? Ujiaki seems a bit beefy, but I guess you can get him in the bin for a
he's not
future
a
Spirit
character
Caller.
that I would have kept. I wouldn't have kept him on the slot on the mulligan. I'm looking for lots of weenies, and yeah, after this turn, I'll likely discard him unless I can charge him into play or something.
And we are seeing, was that a Karada District favourable ground? So it wasn't necessarily the best flop for Crab here.
No, he did have. It's always good to get Shuichi with a holding, but he didn't have access to a weenie, which is a downside for sure.
Yeah, the
Because he can't threaten away the Crab and so forth. So I'm happy to just play all my dudes. I put the Fate on the Mir here, in case he wants to hold on to his reprieve or something until the next turn. So my object was to use that because I have so much Fate. Use that in future.
Yeah, so I guess when you're looking at it here, it's potentially he might attach a Spyglass, but he might just see the Mystic and hold off, so you might as well get a bit of use out of him.
Yeah, it's sometimes worth it. I mean, this is a pretty rare scenario. Like turn 1 Mir Mystic with a Fate is very unlikely setup, especially for Lion. But I put the Mir Mystics in this deck because I was finding that without Dragon Splash, it was very difficult to deal with Cloud the Mines, and they were kind of a necessary evil. So I think I got 2 or 3 in here.
Okay, so the Spyglass does pop up. Were you thinking about pushing this, or
yeah, I was considering just nuking it straight away, but I kind of wanted to get use out of the Mystic, given it was a 3 Fate investment for a conflict first, and then just let him draw 1 card, maybe 2 if he's lucky with Spyglass this turn, and then stack it at the end of the phase. I think that's what was going through my head.
Yeah, so maybe defend in the first one, because I mean, if you think about it, that's 2 Fate plus Iron Mines plus a Reprise. That could be a lot of cards over the long term. So just
that's right.
Just like reduces effectiveness.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Spyglass is one of those cards against Crab. If it hits early, you need somewhere to deal with it, or it's likely you're going to lose the game just because of how long they can keep that card in play with their save effects, such as Reprieve and Iron Mine.
Okay, so it seems like he's thinking a while. Hit the Art of War.
Yeah, so this is a military conflict, and he's going for Art of War, and it's Void.
So what are you thinking here? Are you thinking about potentially just letting him have it, stocking up?
Well, yeah, that's usually the go-to move, especially when I've only got 2 weenies to defend. He might have a Bonsai, and then I'm just toast if I put in a lot into defense. So I think I do decide to not defend.
Yeah.
With the goal of, okay, well, he's going to take one of my provinces. I'm going to get 3 cards, and then I'm going to try and take one of his. That's my aim.
And is it always this is going to be 1 province? You're not going to get greedy and try and split into 2 different attacks?
I think in Lion it's just quite difficult to mount 2 attacks a turn successfully, especially against a defensive clan like Crab. It's just hard. It's hard enough to win the military conflict, to be honest, and break. That I usually sort of defend political and try and attack military, and sometimes defend military as well. But I'm more willing to give away that first province. It's the second and third ones that I'm a little bit more apprehensive about letting them have easy breaks on. So it looks like it's just a pass. He gains a Fate, I think, from Shuichi, and we both pass.
Not a
So
lot of
at this point,
excitement
I've got
there,
10
but
cards in hand, so I'm feeling pretty good. I think I've got enough tricks in my hand. I've got some fate as well. I'm
can you remember
thinking
if you
I'm
had it
going to
for
go
Greater
and...
Glory?
You know what? I can't remember. We'll find out.
We'll find out in engagement soon.
Spoiler alert, if I go for a fire ring, I'm probably looking to Noble Sacrifice, because I have a Pride weenie, and I am splashing Crane.
Got it.
And it looks
Oh,
like
yeah,
I
of
do go
course.
for fire.
Now, is the Mia Mystic staying at home because you don't really need it to win the military conflict? I mean, it's 2 potential
Yeah,
force for the box.
I want to... I'm feeling like he doesn't have a good charge target, and I've probably got, with 10 cards in hand, I've probably got a Bonsai and a Way to Line, or something to that effect.
You got some buffs.
That I don't feel like... Yeah, that's it. And then I can also poke with the Mystic on political and find out what else is hiding under those provinces, hopefully, and maybe get us another ring, so I'm lucky.
So the goal of the Mystic is not to take a second province, but it's to figure out. It's a scouting mission.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, I think what people sometimes do, and it's a little bit of a mistake in my opinion, in the early turns of L5R, is undercommit and try and spread themselves too thin. And for me, I like to have enough guys to win and threaten a break, and then maybe one guy on the side to defend and or poke a second time. But I'm looking to have as many characters as possible turn one, with line especially anyway.
So what are you worried about with Kapowe? He's got the 1 fate. What are you thinking? Let's go through your head. What could Crab do with this? I mean, the charge seems a bit not great.
Yeah, look, if he wants to spend a charge on a keeper, and then play a bonsai or something, I'm pretty happy with that, to be honest. I think that's kind of a losing play in the long run.
Yeah.
It would have been a little annoying maybe if I couldn't break the province, but it looks like I do end up breaking. And it was a Meditations, which is perfect when you've got 2 weenies with no fate.
Yeah.
And I did have it for Greater Glory
It's
there.
probably out of the 4, probably the best option.
Yeah, so I'm on cloud 9 now. I'm thinking to myself, that was a good turn. I was a little bit surprised he didn't go for Earth Ring initially and try and bring out his keeper initiate. So
Yeah.
I guess he wanted to clear away the Mere Mystic so he could start using more of his attachments. But so I do play the Noble Sacrifice.
Horrific.
Yeah, that is a tough one for the Crab.
And I guess Noble Sacrifice, with now that you've got the House Guard, the Muabi Guard, you've got the multiple Pride characters, so Nob Sac's actually quite reliable.
Yes, so I've got 3 honored generals who become honored in Dynasty, so I can use them if need be. The Venerable Historians, I'm usually bidding low, so they're going to be switched on. And then the 6 Pride Weenies, the 1-drop Muwaka Kabe Guard and the 2-drop Gunso. So there's a lot of ways to just turn on Noble Sacrifice. And those cards also fuel Voice of Honor, which is pretty key for Lion to have an event cancel.
Yeah, and not have to worry about getting the favor for it.
So I've poked here with Political Earth. I've hit a Manicured Garden, he's gained some fate, and he's played the court games, and I've just court games back so I can try and win the ring.
Okay.
So in the end, I didn't get use out of that Mystic, it looks like, but I'm feeling pretty good about this turn, to be honest. When this turn happened, I thought, okay, this game's going to be a bit of a cruise.
So everything was going according to plan at this stage.
Yeah, and also, okay, now he's got 2 fate, I've got 1, so he's got a slight fate edge. Hand size wise, I've got 2 extra cards. I've just knocked
That's
out
much of a muchness, right? At this stage, the honor's a bit of a interesting one.
The thing about Crab is that they're so swingy, right? It depends what he flips next turn. If he flips Hida Kisada and a Kaiju Envoy and a Vanguard Warrior, and he has 2 charges in his hand and a Raise the Alarm, like the entire game can swing. And conversely, if he flips another bunch of holdings, it's going to be a little easier for me. So it's tough to... You kind of got to prepare for the worst when you're playing against Crab.
Got it.
So I claim the favor here. I go for military. I pretty much always choose military and Lion. Nearly always.
Just play to your strengths. You're not getting fancy with some sort of I guess.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if you've got all of the courtiers, you got your venerables and prodigies, etc. out, maybe it occasionally makes sense, but in general.
That's right. And I think that my general strategy is concede the political conflicts, try and prevent province breaks through defense, and then maybe get a poke. You're never going to, like, very rarely you're going to break a province with a political conflict on the attack with Lion. And I think if you're trying to do that, if you're being forced to do that, you're already in a really bad way anyway, given the clan's strengths are in military for sure.
Yeah, and I guess one of the rules with Lion is don't get greedy. It's all very
That's right.
precarious. I think people tend to think it's a very strong clan when they see it working, because it does feel powerful and broken.
Well,
But
yeah, they have these
there's a
blowout
lot of bad
effects. But
games,
yeah,
right?
that's exactly right. So some games, your entire strategy just falls apart, and it feels feels really bad. Sometimes you need three spirit callers to get back in the game, which does happen occasionally. But yeah, I think if you get off an earlier for greater glory with multiple characters, and you also if Ujiaki ever goes off into for greater glory, it feels almost unfair from the perspective of your opponent and probably viewers. But yeah, in high level games, I find that the strategy is very weak um, to what's sort of prevalent in the meta, policy debates, event cancels, and just stuff like Cloud of the Mind, just nasty stuff. Because Lion has quite polarized decks. Their good cards are exceptionally good, and their middle range cards are a little bit weaker, I think, both Conflict and Dynasty. And so if they're using cards to address your specific good cards, you have a little bit less gas in the tank compared to other clans, I think.
Yeah. Just a interesting point at this stage in the game. The second draw there, you've bid very low. You bid 1 um, against the opponent who's bid 4, and it's put him in a. I mean, that was an interesting call, and it seems to have worked. He bid high. He's down at 3 honor, so there's a lot of pressure there. So, what are your thoughts
Yeah,
around that? He's now. Well, I mean, you're equal hand size, but that's put a lot
yeah.
of pressure on
So
him.
my reasoning here is my Art of War has been popped turn one, and I think we bid. I think I undercut in turn one as well. So right now I've got 4 characters on board. He's got 1 character on board. Why do I need the extra cards in my hand? Do I have um, sufficient cards in my hand currently that I don't need the cards? And then I just say, all right, well, I'd rather put on Yona pressure um, and slow down his draw. And because I've knocked that one spyglass,
Yep.
um, it's just better to make him pay if he wants to go hunt for another one, I think.
Okay, so you're going first here, and you
Yeah,
declared
so
a
I
military
flung.
conflict at the manicured.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So it's an air conflict. So I've looked at his honor and gone, all right, let's just put on max pressure, force him to
Okay.
defend.
And he's decided to defend, which with 3 fate remaining. Oh no, 5 fate. He's probably got some
Yeah,
cards
so
to play
he's
with
got a
you.
lot of fate. So I'm a
5
little
fate.
nervous.
Because I mean, with skirmishes or potentially Iuchi wayfinders, there's ways to untap their Witch Hunter. So
Yeah,
this
I
turn
I
could
think I'm
potentially
of the
be a big
opinion that
one.
Witch Hunter's probably the best crab personality.
Yeah, for
Although
sure.
they do have a lot of good ones. That's probably the most fearsome when you're playing against them.
I like to think of the Witch Hunter as like the workhorse. There's lots of support around it, and it's all about making that Witch Hunter be able to defend and take multiple provinces. Gets a lot of work done.
It really does. And if you put a couple +1/+1 attachments like a Watch Commander and a Talisman on her, she becomes like a 6/3 or she quickly gains stats pretty hard.
I think we're seeing. Oh, there's the Wavefinder, which could potentially power up the Witch Hunter after this conflict.
Yeah,
And we've got.
and so he's just looked at my shameful display with that Wayfinder, which I couldn't tell you where it is, but so I'm thinking, God damn it.
He knows where your shameful is, which he might
The
actually
other thing I'm worried
target,
about
right?
here, he would, because I have a character with dash military left, so he stands his guy and comes and hits me. Unless I've got a conflict character with my 1 remaining fate, he's gonna. So he
Okay,
wants to win this
so he's
conflict.
charged in Casada. At this point here, what's going on? Is there sweat? Are you starting to think maybe I'm not in cruise control anymore, and I need to actually put
It
both my
really,
hands on the wheel?
it really depends on what's in my hand. If I've got like two Way of the Lions and a bonsai, I'm still feeling okay. I don't remember what I had, to be honest.
You've just used a bonsai, and you've kicked it,
Yeah,
and
so I'm still trying to claim this province. I want to knock out the province.
So, quick question here: that bonsai, you put them both on the gifted tactician instead of splitting. What was the reasoning there?
That is a good point. I don't actually recall why I did that. Maybe I had a route in my hand or something. I want to send one of the
Route, yeah, got it.
yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense, to be honest. I'm not sure why I did that.
Because
I
in
did play
general,
one
unless
route
you
in this
do
game.
have a route, is you'd want to split so that the reduces the impact of an assassination or a bow effect or something.
Yeah, that's right. So he's actually sent home his witch hunter. So he's acknowledged he's not going to be able to prevent this break. So I might as well get use out of my fortification.
You pass.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if I've got another for Greater Glory. I don't think I do.
That would be pretty ideal.
Yeah.
I think if you play your second for Greater Glory, then potentially the crab player on the I guess the retaliation attack, he won't choose your shameful. He'll choose one of the other two, hoping to find the feast, because you don't have any feast targets.
Yeah, that's a good point. Anytime you can break feast without the effect going off at all, it feels pretty good.
Yeah.
So he's rebuilt his favored ground and he sent home Casada. So now I'm sweating. Now I'm thinking, all right, he's forced me to spend my bonsai, and then he sent all of his big guys home, and they're going to come hit me pretty hard here.
So this is
now
what
I'm
you're
thinking
talking
I'm going
about
to
with
lose
crab
two
can
provinces.
swing.
That's it, yeah.
Very, very swingy. So he got a free, one fate costs Casada. He was able to defend, deplete you some resources, and then he's been able to pull his favoured back, and he's pulled both very strong guys out of the conflict. Conceded one province to potentially take two.
Yep. And he's still got the Witch Hunter's effect as well, so he can. This is a very dangerous situation to be in. Anytime you're in a race, Lion often find themselves in these races for province breaks, and you're behind with Lion. It feels really bad because you're very weak on one particular conflict type, and so there's a big hole in your game that opponents can exploit.
So he has.
So he's gone.
He tried to find the feast, and he found it, which is interesting given you didn't have the For Greater Glory, so you do have feast target.
Yeah, at most he's going to be losing one fate, and I'm going to be gaining one onto my.
He must have a reprieve in his hand or something. He's only on 2 honor. Like, that's danger.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's the Steward of Laws. I run 3 of those in my Lion Crane deck. They're just fantastic cards. The stat line's great for 1, and the interplay with the shame is really strong.
Traditional allies, the Lion and Crane, right? I think if you look up the L5R.
Yeah, not really.
Never had a war. Never had a good neighbours.
So at this point, I'm realizing, okay, he's probably going to ready Casada after I play this for shame. But I need to burn that reading ability. And I need to make him either defend or attack with, threaten with the Venerable or.
So depending on the version of the crab deck, some of them play Gaijin customs as well here, right? So there's not only the steadfast ability, but there's also Gaijin that may be there.
Yeah, it's just stuff that you kind of have to always account for. You don't want to live in fear of the card all the time, but you have to, like I said earlier, you kind of have to prepare for the worst when you're playing against Crab, because they do have this ability to flood. And I imagine it's kind of similar when you're playing against Lion, where you kind of have to prepare for that big combo.
Yeah. The things aren't looking great here. 'Cause, I mean, you've got 2 Lions. You've got 2 Crabs. 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 You've got 2 Li
Yeah, so now I'm definitely conceding this province. There's no way, unless I got another for shame somehow. This is gone. Yep, so I've passed. And so my goal now is I'm going to fling this venerable historian at him, and with his innate ability to honor herself, I'm hoping to either threaten the province and force him to defend, or take a province, and then he would take one back. Of course, that's my goal.
What was the
Also, it's
ring
really
he
tough, like you
chose there?
said,
He
to
chose
honor.
the Earth, and you discarded a
Yeah,
policy debate, which is not ideal.
yeah, and so he's going to go fetch his keeper. So this is tough.
So this is turn one. You're feeling fantastic. Now, from fantastic to almost ready to concede, where are you at now?
Well, I'm looking at the board and I'm thinking, okay, it's unlikely he's got two reprieves, so at least one of those big guys is going to have to leave play. Um,
So you're not
Hopefully.
digging your grown grave yet.
No, I'm also trying to cycle my dynasty to pick up Spirit Callers and Brawlers, which are, of course, the two power
Because you've
dynasty
got
cards for land.
Ujiaki, right? In your dynasty.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Although I don't know if I'm going to retain. So I've run into Shameful. So this is kind of. I mean, clearly I would prefer to
It was
run into a
50%
different color.
chance, and it wasn't kind. Are you running court games in this deck?
Yeah, I'm still in the camp that thinks that court games is mandatory in pretty much every deck. Just even if you don't care about honoring your own guys, it's just to prevent Scorpion from railroading you.
Yeah, and Scorpion are pretty high up in the meta at the moment. I think they're doing okay.
They're doing great. They just do well against the other top decks,
So
and they
it's
just got
probably
rebalanced.
worth noting for those watching this in the future that this is the end of the Imperial arc. So the first 6 Dynasty packs have been out, but that's it.
Yeah, so you guys will remember how strong Pathfinder's Blade was and/or is.
Who knows if it's
What do
still
you think is the
dominating?
strongest card in the environment right now?
Yeah, Pathfinders is pretty much up there. I think Policy Debate's very, very strong too.
Yeah, and Policy Debate is more ubiquitous, right? Because everyone can play it. So he's activated Chainfall. So now he's winning the conflict, and unless I've got another way to honor my guy, I'm in trouble here. Looks like I do have court games, so I'm going to have 4 skill.
Yeah, okay.
So, okay, there's one thing I do remember about this. He had a Karada from turn 1, and he kept it, and I didn't play a single attachment, but I was hanging on to an Ornate Fan. And I was just like looking at this 0 cost +2 juicy buff for turn after turn that I could not put on the battlefield. Otherwise, he'd just suck it away.
Now this deck plays very few attachments, right?
Yeah, well, for a long time, I was actually playing no attachments at all. And then I sort of wanted to fit in Policy Debates as a pseudo event cancel. And so when you do that, it's kind of leading to add in some sort of political buff.
To balance. So he's
So
played
he's
his on
attached
a
to Ornate
fan.
Fan.
You're no longer winning the conflict. You know he's got a Karada district.
Yeah, so I cannot play the fan. So now I believe that's all she wrote. I'm going to lose this conflict. Now I'm thinking, man, this is looking pretty grim.
This turn's not great. It's
Because
not
I'm
one
thinking
that you
he's going
write
to come
home
hit
about.
my third province and break it. I don't believe that I had anything left in hand to prevent that from happening. So it's a tough spot. One thing I've got going for me is that I've got a very good board state. So in going into the next turn and the turn after, I'm going to have bodies, which
There's a
is
pretty good chance
very
at
good.
least one of Casada and Steadfast will disappear.
That's right. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, next turn is going to be the turn that I suffer, right? Because he's going to have first player. He's likely going to be on my stronghold. And so I have to gear my decisions around making that heroic defense.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, what do I need to successfully defend my stronghold? And my deck contains a few uncommon, well, maybe not anymore, but they were for a while uncommonly seen cards like Disdainful Remark. which can single-handedly save your stronghold from breaking in a conflict. So
And it's
I can't remember if I have it in my hand, but yeah. Well, yeah, not out of line anyway.
I mean, where is it commonly anticipated? Crane can't use it, right? Keeper only.
Crane can't use it. It's seen in some unicorn decks. It really is an uncommonly played card, despite I think it's got a very high power level. And it's one of those cards that's strong early and late game.
Yeah.
Like I've had games where I've increased my province strength by 28 with 2 disdainful remarks. Which is kind of thematically ridiculous, but whatever.
Needed you to increase it by that much.
Yeah, I mean it's very hilarious thematically to have someone throw some shade and have the other army capture you.
That must have been delicious tea.
So he is breaking again now. He's got a spyglass and a talisman. So now I'm looking at that talisman
He's
thinking,
got it all,
oh
right?
god, yeah. And he's, for some reason, guys, don't do this at home. If you see you're against a keeper clan and you have the choice to discard a face down card, just don't do it. But he decides to do it, and lo and behold, he hits a Spirit Caller, one of the cards that I really wanted to see.
Yeah, that's twisting the knife, right? Kick a guy while he's down. So you've taken 2 provinces to his 3, but he's first next turn. So he's going to get a look at your box.
Yeah, so he's reprieved Casada. Now I'm like, all right, he had a reprieve. This sucks.
Was that the correct target?
Like, what? Well, I was thinking, why is he reprieving Casada? And of course, he's got 2. So he
oh my god.
He's a Witch Hunter as well. So now I'm thinking, all right, this is the turn, right? If I'm lucky with the flip, and he doesn't see Iron Mines, and I defend successfully, those 2 characters are likely to leave play. If he doesn't see Iron Mines of Vanguard Warrior, and I defend my stronghold, it's likely those 2 characters will leave. So I'm planning for the turn after this turn.
You're not thinking about taking provinces the next turn. It's a defense turn.
No,
right?
That's it. Yeah. That's exactly right.
Timing, right?
And I'm just glad I've got a board built up here. So coming into turn 3, being down to when you've got 3 provinces down, you're always under the threat of losing the game. The one thing that's playing into my advantage is that he is on 2 honor. So
wow, it's a horror flip.
A pretty bad flop. Yeah. 2 favorable grounds is a little annoying because it means he can like overcommit for political, force me to play some cards, run away, and then hit me again. But yeah, that's not a great flip for him. But okay, he made the decision to keep Karada District. What are your thoughts on that? Because personally, I would have binned it.
Well, I don't think he suspects that you're playing such small amount of attachments, and that's the difference. Karada District is so fantastic, and if you've got all of that on your board, like your board is amazing, I can't see a good reason to ditch it, right? Like it's a very powerful effect. You know, it could it turns off a couple of cards in your hand in his mind.
But then you run the risk of this sort of flip happening, which is kind of worst case scenario, I guess. But
and I think in this case where you flip 2 favourables, I wonder if he's playing rebuilds, right? If you're playing rebuilds, maybe you can discard the Karada District and then you can pop it back later on. But otherwise, with if you see a flip like this, your favourables means that you're not worried about losing a province this turn, right? Like as you said, you overcommit your first attack, you go hard, and you make the opponent play their cards, and then when they can't, once you've realised you're not going to take the box, you eject, and you're good to reload.
Yeah, it's actually very, very brutal to have to overcommit on a defense and watch your opponent's 2 best characters run away into the nights.
Well, you can't not defend, right? Unless you have 2 disdainfuls, I guess. Well, he's only got hand size 6, right. And that's probably not enough.
So it's tough. It's I'm thinking to myself at this point, I can probably defend military.
Yeah.
But political is going to be tough. So he decides to wear the crab. He's got an envoy. I guess he just wants to clear off a character, which is, I think it's an okay play.
Yeah.
It's not ideal. It means you're trying to go for the win this turn, right? Because otherwise you would have saved it and just nuke the brawler.
Yeah, it's not a clutch play. It's not as strong. Like, it could be timed in future turns for maximum effect. You've got no fade on either of those three characters, so it would be much more heartbreaking the turn after. But I guess
so I've gone for the tactician. I'm planning to not win the military conflict this turn, so his text is relevant, and he's got the lowest skill. Plus, I want 2 courtiers because I think I've got a disdainful remark in my hand. So I'm thinking to myself, well, I can use the brawler to defend military, play the disdainful there if I need to.
So there's probably a few people trying to remember what disdainful does, and that requires that you're a keeper only. You've got a participating courtier character. Does it cost a fate?
Yes, it costs 1 fate, and it's only usable in defense. Yeah.
Only usable in defense, plus X to your province strength equal to the number of cards in the opponent's hands.
That's right. Yeah.
Which could be massive.
Could be massive, could be pretty bad. But in this case, it's going to be okay. I think he's going to have 7 in hand by the time he attacks. Spyglass. Which is like a 7-point boost. Like, it doesn't help you win the conflict, but a lot of the time, the prize is really the province break, and the ring is just a positive side effect benefit kind of.
Yeah.
Especially when you're on the box. He's gone for water political here, which is, I think it's pretty smart. He's trying to bow out some of my defenders.
Oh, this is heartbreaking.
Yeah, so at this point, I am, like I said earlier, I'm really looking forward to the next turn and doing everything I can to defend this. And it's going to be, I'm thinking to myself, it's going to be incredibly tough to make it out of this one. I thankfully do have 2 courtiers, and the brawler has fate, so she can't be bowed by the Ring of Water if you were to win this conflict.
This crab player is bringing 9 political skill to this conflict as well, which is significant. But yeah, ancestral, I guess, means you need 12 plus whatever the veteran can bring. So it's hard to break.
Yeah, so this particular league, you could edit your decks before and between games. So I'm not sure why I used Ancestral Grounds. I think if I were to go back in time, I would have just added in entrenched position, given that I'm against Crab. But yeah, I guess it kind of works out for me in this game.
I think Ancestral Lands is a good choice for general, because you know, a lot of the time you just got to do the maths and think about who's actually going to get to your box and what are they going to have. And if by the time Crab get to your box, that +5 really actually helps.
That's right. And it's great against Dragon and Crane.
Yeah. It still works versus Dragon. It's really good versus Scorpion.
Yeah, and any deck that's running Pathfinders is going to access your stronghold quickly without suffering the negative consequences of the good provinces you have in your province. Whereas Lion, it's good to have a 12 strength stronghold.
Yep. Okay, so we're seeing you think about your first action here.
So I'm actually thinking about undefending it. And I think to myself, it's too much of a risk. If he has any sort of pumps, he's going to break.
He's your veteran, makes sense. So you thinking about disdainful first? Is there any reason why you would just go for the veteran historian's ability instead?
If I only have 1 disdainful remark, I'm going to be trying to save it for the next conflict, because I think this is a bit of a dummy.
Yep.
Especially when he says Ancestral Lands. I'm now planning for the next conflict. Yeah. So I'm probably going to honor my guy. That's what I'm guessing I'm going to do.
It's a good start.
Okay, so I did do that, and here the Casada cancels it. So this was a mistake. I actually remember going, just thinking, I'll do this first, and forgetting about Casada. But then once I realized what I'd done, I looked at my hand and thought, actually, that's what I would have done regardless, because I have other stuff that I would play otherwise.
Okay. So he's not breaking the province. So he's ejected. It's probably not a lot. So he's ejected. I feel like that's the wrong favourable to use first.
Yeah, that was probably a mistake too.
It's a minor, like pretty subtle error, but it was a mistake.
Yeah, it's the sort of mistake that in 98 out of 100 games won't make a difference at all, but in maybe 1% of games or 2% of games, it'll hurt you. So he's bowed out. He's won the conflict but not broken, and he's bowed out one of my berserkers, which is I'm happy with this. At this point, I'm thinking, all right. Um, I'm thinking, man, I really want to use my Lions Pride Brawler and bow somebody, but it's just not going to happen this turn. So I think I'm pretty sure I just pass my conflict and get ready to
So
mount
you
a
don't have the
defense.
multiple way of the Lions. And even if you did,
Well, yeah,
it's still very dangerous.
yeah, and he's got that stand ability still with
Now, is
the
stand fast sacrifice a crab person or just anyone?
anyone.
Okay, so you can get rid of the keeper.
Yeah, it's a great
Yeah.
synergy that Crab has.
No, you can't attack you.
Yeah, so I'm looking at this thinking, okay, he hasn't got an Iron Man, he hasn't got a Vanguard Warrior to add Fate back on.
He's
He's
used
played
2
two of his
reprieves.
reprieves. Yeah, so I'm thinking, all right, if I can make it out of this turn, I'm going to have a legitimate shot at this game again. So this is the clutch. This is going to be the clutch fight of the game.
So there's no need to declare any conflicts here. Just
I
gonna
don't think so. I think I eventually do pass. I'm taking my time, but
the hand size here, both same hand size. He's on 2 honor, so he's under a bit of pressure. But there's
yeah.
no
So
need for you to try and.
I've got
You
a
can't
huge
force
honor
a win.
buffer, which is good. Yep. So I do pass my conflict opportunity. I'm thinking, all right, I'm going to play this disdainful. I need to have my brawler there because she's a courtier.
Yeah. Because the brawler, I think, in design when they were looking at it, probably wasn't quite strong enough, so they went, "We need the courtier trait, right?" Like pretty average ability, middling stats.
Yeah. Yeah, she probably. Yeah, I mean, in playtesting, she was probably a Shigenja as well, but they nerfed her. I think that card. I've always been of the opinion that people have overrated it. Like when the comic came out about her being broken, and I
I
think
think in
it's
the
tough to deal with when you're new to the game or when you haven't. Like, what do
also,
you
I
think
think
about it?
in core was just a fantastic dynasty card, right?
Yeah,
Like lots of people fell a cropper of Lion Pride Brawler first turn, watering, bow 2 people.
yeah, and that I think also effects that bow your opponent's cards are always going to be perceived to be stronger than effects that stand your own guys, for instance, just because it shuts down what your opponent's wanting to do.
Yeah.
And so, from the perspective of, but personally, I always rated Niten Master as better than Lion's Pride Brawler.
Nintendo Master is pretty amazing. I
Yeah,
think the difference is Nintendo Master helps you take provinces. Brawler does to an extent.
yeah,
Brawler's
Brawler's more of
usually
a
used
control
to
card.
defensively, right?
Yeah, it's to bow out their biggest threat, and it's especially good when you're going first.
Yeah.
Whereas Niten Master can defend, can attack. It's more of an all-round just beat stick.
It's got the same theme as the Steadfast.
So here, I remember that Casada has an ability, and I use staging grounds first. So that's
Right.
that's a great way to answer to the Casada's effect is to save a staging ground, lion players. And I'm just thinking to myself, he's currently breaking. He's passed. What's he going to have? A bonsai, maybe a gunzo. He's going to have a fair bit of force. What do I have to play here? So I played away the lion.
Okay.
So my brawler becomes a 6.
So I think it's part of the thinking here that if you do have a disdainful, you want to take a few actions and make him expend some resources first.
Yes, and I also think it's to play a 0 fate cost card to test whether or not, just to test whether or not he has that bonsai.
Yeah.
Because now it's no longer breaking. If he then passes, I just snap pass.
Yeah, you're happy to retain that disdainful and whatever other tricks you got in your hand for later.
Yeah, that's exactly
And just
right. So he's
take
bonsai
whatever
and
the
he's
ring
picked
is.
it. So he's dropped himself to 1 honor.
Yeah, and he's contesting the airing, so he's presumably thinking he's going to gain 2 honor when he wins this conflict if he doesn't take the province. But he's hell-bent on taking it.
Yeah, he's trying to win. So I play a second Way of the Lion, so that kicks up my brawler up to 12. So now it's 17 for the crab player and 15 for me.
So he's a champion brawler.
Yeah, so I might have... I mean, I don't know if I had a third one in my hand, but if I did, I might be planning on just winning this conflict outright.
Well, preventing him gaining that 2 honor is pretty important, right?
That's it, yep.
Yeah, because then you've got first turn and maybe you after the airing.
Yep. So this is why Covert is so good. This is why cards that send characters home are so strong and were quite underrated in core, I think, is because of these where, like, you can get a guy who's at 15 skill by himself, and it's just playing like an outwit or a route, if you can, is so efficient at removing that much. So yeah, so I do have the third Way of the Lion, so I'm up to 27 skill now. So this conflict is over.
And it's worth noting his keeper is honourable, so an airing is not going to outright win you the game next turn.
That's right. Yep.
But it will put incredible pressure on him. He can only bid 1 next turn.
Yep, he can only bid 1, and I have the worst case scenario, he's got 1 more reprieve, and he doesn't have any iron mines. So I'm thinking all of his guys are going to leave play, and it's just going to be a good turn for me next turn.
Yeah.
So sometimes in this game, you can have a very dominant turn 1, like I did in this game. I think it was reasonably dominant.
Yeah, it was.
And then have the game completely reverse, and then you've really got to look forward and plan out. Like, you've got to kind of... Lion loves to attack, but some turns you've got to just defend. And this is an example of one of those turns. But the ability to shift gears is a mark of a very good player, I think. So it looks like I've passed my second conflict, and he's going to take the favour this time.
So I'm just looking at his fate total. You've got 3 fate, which seems fantastic. But he's got 7. So he's going to be able to buy whatever comes. And did he have it? No, the entire board's gone. So you're pretty happy.
So at this point, surely, like, if it's me, I'm definitely dumping Toreadory now. Last turn, I'm thinking that was pretty questionable. This turn, I need to get some dudes.
With that much fate, given you're going to have 14 fate at the start of your turn, I feel like a dude's probably more important than a single attachment. Like, is there an amazing attachment that Lions sometimes run? Is he worried about a guard duty?
Does he want to steal a Sashimono?
Sashimono, I mean, it seems corner case. Not every deck runs that.
So now I look at my flip and I think, holy, the Jigoku gods love me.
This is you're in heaven, and he's going not the greatest flip for him.
Yeah. What do you think about the new Kuni character?
I really like the character. Very underrated. Helps Crab run clouds, and the ability resets the province. Like
she's got the same stat line as the Steadfast Witch Hunter, but she can remove a fate from an attacking character if she wins on defense.
I mean, I guess
she's
useful
just okay.
For clouds, right?
She's expensive, but I think if you could raise the alarm her in. Yeah, she's 4. I think she's 4 military. I could be wrong.
4 military and 2 politics.
Yeah, so she's got an impressive stat line, but her effect is probably situational.
Yeah.
So I've just gone all brawler.
Triple brawler.
Mono
brawler deck.
I'm looking at his honor total being at 2, and my board state. I'm thinking, well, I probably am going for Void Ring, and I'm going to send everyone at one place and try and cap that province. So worst case scenario, he has to defend anyway because he's got low honor.
Yeah.
And I'm going to bow out whoever's not defending, hopefully.
You
And
both
then,
beat one. Just as a
yeah,
note.
that's right.
Yeah, I don't think there was anything else that was going to happen there.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny when the honor becomes restricted, the bidding patterns become really predictable. Up
Yep.
until that point, they can go crazy. Like different players have different proclivities with the bids. I find it pretty interesting.
Yeah, sometimes it's less about clan or deck and more about who's sitting across the table from you.
Yeah, like I'm sure to those viewing, you have local guys who only ever bid one, never bid five, and my advice is to not do that because the worst thing you can do is to be predictable. I'd rather be unpredictable and make some mistakes than be predictable and easy to read.
Okay, so it looks like you've got two of your brawlers lined up to take
Yeah,
out the.
so I've run face first into defend the wall with air.
Yeah, and what was the
So no reasoning
thoughts
here.
behind the Karada district rather than just if he's blocking himself off, for one province a turn, go for. Oh, Shameful's not great. That's why.
To be honest,
Shameful's your only choice.
I did
Yeah,
not
okay.
expect to defend the wall. I was thinking public forum, um, or the water province in that slot, but I was okay with it. Defend the wall is probably the worst case because if he wins this, he's going to get 2 honor
He's gonna
and
pop
this
up
card of
4.
fate.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't want to run to shameful display because both of his characters have 2 glory, and it was just going to cause me more headaches. I thought to myself, so I wanted to. This attack was to say, hey, I'm attacking you for air. You've got to defend, and you better win it, or you're going to be in trouble. And then I'm going to come up with the other brawler after for some unopposed honor loss.
Yep.
It's pretty unusual to win a game by dishonor as a lion player, but that's at this point I'm thinking to myself, it's far more likely that happens than a province break, given the state of the game.
So he passed
So
on
I
his
doubt
first
his
action.
guy straight away. Yeah,
So he knew a
because
dude
he
was
was
going to get
actually
bowed.
ahead. Yeah, so I don't know why he wouldn't use his stronghold, or maybe he's got conflict characters he wants to put into play first.
There's no charge targets. Maybe he's got to rebuild.
So he's used his stronghold now.
Okay.
So it's 6-6, and at this point, I think I pass because I'm thinking to myself, I don't think I had another buff to be able to bow his other guy.
Yeah.
So I was thinking to myself, well, hey, look, if I win this, I'm going to win the game this turn because I'm going to swing in with the other character.
Yeah.
So I did pass. So this is an interesting thing. Like at some points in this game, in the game of L5R, your preferred outcome is of course to break it, but sometimes just seeing if they've got other cards and passing when you're already ahead is a really strong move. So he gains a fate. So I'm with Shuichi, so I'm going to pass again.
He's just playing for time.
Okay, so
So
he
you think
passes.
you've
So
won it
now
here,
I'm
right?
thinking, all right, unless he's got some conflict character, I've won.
So you're taking a
And
big deep breath and you think, wow, that was a hard game, but I got there.
well, yeah, it was just probably turn 2 and 3 were hard, and then turn 1 and 4 were way more my way. So it was essentially a pretty balanced game that had periods of dominance. There's a lot of games are more like back and forth within each turn. Some games go like this where one turn is all one player and so on and so on. And being able to weather those turns is actually, I think, an advanced skill. And like sometimes you'll be sitting there thinking, all right, well, this turn is just not going to go my way, and you have to kind of swallow that and then mitigate the damage. So yeah, that's the game.
Well, there you
So
go.
Kapowe, pretty good player, I think. He made a few errors, but yeah, what do you think about it?
Yeah, that was a game that showed the importance of switching gears in the middle of the game. realizing when the time to be offensive or just continue with your game plan is not the way forward, and you need to take a look, observe the game state, understand what the long-term plan is. How are you going to win this? I think the other great lesson here, is that a lot of people talk about, always bidding high. You want to have cards in your hand, but there was a bit of a strategy here where you bid a little bit lower than him for a bunch of turns, and then all of a sudden he was under a lot of pressure, a lot of honor pressure, and you're able to take advantage of that and turn it into a win where he had probably, apart from that brawler turn, he had a lot better board state than you.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I think that that bidding low early doesn't get you many immediate benefits, except in line where you've got characters that key off having low honor or greater honor, sorry. But it is like banking for future turns, because the trade-off is in future turns, your opponent's going to be under some sort of pressure and their ring decisions are going to be affected and their bid decisions are going to be affected later. So I like to do it when I've had a good turn. I'll bid lower the next turn and so forth. All
All right.
right. Well, thanks for that, Ben.
Yeah, thanks for that, Toreadory, and we'll catch you at the next stream.